seen the sights and people there, walked the streets of sleepy sea towns, tasted salty ocean air. Once I flew to New York City, took my picture in Times Square. Soho nights and Broadway lights, such a pity you weren't there. Pack your bags and lock your door, I'll take you places you've not been before. All I've ever wished to do is travel through this life
with you. Hi, I'm Michael.
And I'm Grace.
And we're California Travel Videos. I think I should leave it to Mendy to Glenn to go ahead and sing. Grace, go ahead and give us our welcome.
Welcome. So nice of you all to be here. Thank you for joining us. Michael's going to gear up and tell you what we have planned for you today.
But before I do, Grace, you always do such great jobs with these video intros. And the pictures, well, they came from various places across the United States. And we've made some of those pictures, I think pretty much all of them, into the backs of business cards. So, rather than just have something on the back of the business card, here's our business card. Let's see if it focuses here in a little bit. There it is. But on the back of it, we have pictures. And that one, Grace, do you know where that is?
I do. That's up by Lake Tahoe, and that came on our honeymoon on a bright and early morning. We spent our honeymoon getting up at 4 a.m. so we could chase the sunrise.
Emerald Bay. This one you may recognize. This is when they were putting what was called the zipper at the Golden Gate Bridge. And, so we show people, like, do you like that picture?
Well, hold that back up a minute, because that one actually...
I will.
There's something very unique about that card, and you'll notice it is a Golden Gate Bridge. We are on top, and it's missing all cars because it was one of the only 3 times in the history of the Golden Gate Bridge since 1937 that it was closed, and we had that opportunity, so it was a great night.
And when you want to get a...
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. So anyway, we got some great pictures when we go out along the way, and we love to share them with them. But we're going to be going into what a lot of you are doing is stickers. So stay tuned. Grace has got a great sticker for you. And why don't you go ahead and let's see. Great to have time for exploring. Be sure to see their show. Also, they've got a premiere coming up in about 7 minutes. So make your choices. Garrett and let's see, Carol, I think are there. Maybe we've got Eddie Edison. Maybe we've got Emma and Mr. Timothy. So hope you're in tonight. Love to watch your show the other day. That was awesome. And who else? We've got, it looks like, whoa, Nellie. Hello, Lucy and Dean. And so great to have you all here. So, and I see it looks like Grassroots Living. I'm not sure if we got Dean or Shailene or whoever, but howdy, y'all. So the show today. Okay, as Grace said, first up, the WEBoost announces its fastest antenna yet, faster than a speeding bullet, leaps buildings in a single bound. Or faster than a locomotive, I guess it was, wasn't it? But anyway, it is now handles some 5G frequencies. We'll talk about that. Number 2, people love to talk about Starlink satellite internet news. So, and how does it relate to our RV community? So I'm going to get in a little bit of that tonight. God knows I could talk hours on this topic, but I will keep it short. Grace will give me the hook. Number 3.
I'm referring to the fact that it is a topic people have interest in, and I'm glad that you can enlighten them. I will just put a zipper on my own lips during that time.
Okay. Number 3, Grace is going to talk about Google Maps versus Apple Maps. Which navigation app is best?
What's new stuff?
It depends, yeah. Then COVID vaccination. Are we going to have passports? What's up with that? What's the pros and cons there? We won't get too much into politics, but a little bit, just kind of let you all weigh in on that. In fact, any of these topics, we'd love for you to comment on that. Gas and diesel prices are stable, but looks like we may have some price increases in the future. And certainly it's 10 or 20% higher than it was last year. Grace is going to talk about Burning Man this year. What? Yeah, we thought Burning Man for old people was going down to courtside, but
Wow.
I guess we're going to talk a little bit about some opportunities for those of us who don't otherwise get in, because we know that the federal lands, when you go to the national parks, you got to make reservations. So maybe not. Grace will talk about that. And then an outdoorsy study about the cities and states which are most dependent on RV campgrounds. I thought that was really interesting, even to know which campgrounds are some of the hot ones. Rocky Mountain National Park, yeah, they're going with a new reservation policy. And then finally, Grace has got something that happens on April 1st, and I'll let you figure out what that is, but I think you probably know. So don't be fooled. Okay, Grace, are we ready to start?
We are. I do want to take a moment to welcome Sue and thank you for being here, especially those of you on the East Coast. We realize there it's already 9:30 and everybody's got work mornings and everything else. So we really, again, and we thank you, Paula. I know you're on the East Coast in a different time zone as well. So
welcome, Paula.
All of you for being here.
And Susie Q, always great to have her. She's so loyal. I mean, both of them there. I mean, but Paula, I don't know. Do you sleep at all, Paula? I'm not so sure. But Van Vita Travels, they are kicking serious ASS, whatever that means. I think it's pronounced Kassizi, but
yeah,
I won't go into that.
Recently had a nice trip that she got to explore.
Yeah, can't wait to talk about that some too. Well, okay, so let's talk about the WEBoost. Now, we have a WEBoost in our RV, and I don't know if you know what that means, but it's an amplifier. It amplifies the cell signals. The downside, yeah, they're about $400 to $500. Now, there are some that do less that still have some of the features, but this one we found where you got to have at least one bar of service. If you got no service, it's not going to make something. Or if the cell tower is congested, it's not going to do that either. But when we're out on the road and on the move, Grace kind of likes it where she likes to get on her social, or maybe she does some Word for Friends, the Scrabble kind of games.
Or reservations.
Or reservations. Even we do some work with it, don't we?
Sometimes I actually do work, honey.
Yes, you do. And, you know, the really scary things is like when Grace is driving, then it's like, now I'm paying attention, aren't I?
No, you sleep.
I sleep. That shows how much I trust you, love. Anyway, so this is basically a new model. It's supposed to be the fastest of their fast, and it will actually handle some of the 5G signals. So it's called the WEBoost Destination RV, and I think I've got a picture I can show here. So a picture, they say, is always worth 1,000 words. And yeah, I think this one should come down right behind me. And
I'm going to go
do we
ahead
have
and
any
change
pictures
how
of it?
this is formatted for us.
Yeah. So yeah, here's a picture of it. I'm going to get myself in a little bit of a smaller screen there. And here you can see somebody's got a trailer. And if you can follow my mouse, right in the back of it there is a little white dot up at the top about 10 feet over. It's on a mast, and it's got this antenna, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to go back to a bigger screen here, and it looks like this. Yeah, I got one about 6 months ago for a project to actually, you know, this is a very directional antenna. It's got what they call a Yagi. You've probably seen TV antennas that are up on the roofs. This is kind of like that also, but it just is in a different orientation. And so it gets a very directed signal, and they have a 25-foot pole that goes on. So sure, it's going to get more frequencies. Actually, I did one up on that. I got this mount that you can put it on, and you put one here like that, and the other one goes 45 this way. They call that cross polarization. So yeah, I've got it where I can have two of them, two for the price of one. No, two for the price of two. And this is actually a Wilson Electronic WEBoost type of antenna also. But if you really want to go all out, you get the cross polarization. This has a single one, but you've probably seen maybe these before, the MIMOs, multiple inputs, multiple outputs are what we're talking about. So this is a small one that kind of plugs into your hotspot device.
So we had that when we were in Valley of Fire with no internet connection.
If you got 0 bars, honey, it's not going to resurrect Lazarus. This is not like an Easter Sunday type of thing or whatever. So no, it won't do that. But
I do want to take a moment and thank Time for Exploring thank them for being here and tell everybody, if you get a chance after our show, make sure you check out their premiere.
Just released video, their premiere. It's just happening right now. So, at any rate, a little bit about that. Well, this one is a pricey dude. It's 650 smackers, US dollars.
Wow.
It has a 25-foot telescoping pole with that Yagi antenna that you just saw that goes on top of it. And 5G frequencies, it can handle channel 12, 13, 245, and sometimes 25, but I don't think for Sprint is what I've heard some people say. So it handles some 5G. You know, they have the what is it? The fundamental frequency is 1, the lower frequencies. But if you want something above 6 gigahertz, if you know what that means, up at the 25 gigahertz, the super fast, where you have to be within a mile or so of the transmitter. Well, I mean, how many RVers are going to do that? So it doesn't cover the entire RV band. So it's not going to do everything for everybody all the time. Well, but the Hershey bar, we have this little transponder there that, you know, it's the size of a Hershey bar and looks like one. It's got a cable that goes to your Wilson electronic amplifier. And we have to be within about a foot or two with our cell phone or hotspot or iPad or whatever. And this one, you can be a little further away. I think you can be actually in a multi-room environment. So anyway, if you've got a lot of disposable money to spend, it's something you might want to think about. But I would just say, if you get that 25-foot pole, you know, don't leave it up when you get ready to leave your location.
Oh,
you know, it's like, so you have to put it up when you get to the location, put it down. Ours, we have up on the top of our roof, right up at the last part of our ladder, and it sticks about 1 foot. It's called the trucker's antenna. It's an Omni. It goes all the way around. It's not a directional. So there's pros and cons. What were you going to say, darling?
Oh, I was just remembering the videos. I think it's 11'9" for the trucks and the ones that U-Hauls or anything else that have the air conditioners when they go under the low clearance. So yeah, if you left that pole up, there'd be a lot of videos.
Yeah, I think it's 10.8 if I'm not mistaken, or whatever the height, 11.8 maybe it was. But once you watch that, anytime you go under a underpass, you will always think about, do I have enough clearance? So any rate, I would say is that if you're interested in that, is that just be aware of one thing, and that is because it puts out so much power, directed power, you know, you're obligated, whether you do or not, to let the FCC and your, I should say your cell company know that you have this. And you don't want to be pointing it to somebody else's service. You want to be pointing it to your carrier, because it is quite a bit of power that comes out. I don't think it's enough that it would really hurt your face. You know, whenever I used to be a microwave technician, but normally you don't want things to be pointing to your face when they're being irradiated. But this, I don't think it's too high. But I wouldn't, you know, just go to sleep with it under your pillow.
So Mo Bang for your bucks says 600 buckaroo, not so much bang for your bucks.
Yeah, it's you've got to be very demanding, and I think it's in large part, this is great for somebody who is has marginal reception and you're in a fixed location, you know, because like, hey, you know, I've got a WEBoost, but I only get 2 bars, but I'd really like to get 4 to 5 megabits so I can start watching some decent videos or whatever. And if you're at a fixed location, then it's worth it after a while. But if you're on the move and most of the time you have good service without all these exotic solutions, unless you got a lot of disposable income, it's something to think about. And who knows, you know, the price might come down as they get more competition.
Right. And another good point that he brings out is you also, if you need it for work. So there is always a matter of prioritizing and what your needs are. So
that's an excellent point you bring up. And that's where we're going to talk about, how about Starlink? Are we ready to go to the next topic, Grace?
I am ready. Are you ready?
Oh, yes, indeed. I know a lot of you are interested in the Starlink. You hear about it and the fact that it has such fast service, such low latency, and it is unlimited service. I'm ready to go. Well, aren't we all? And yet, wait, there's more. If you don't know anything about it, basically is that Elon Musk has said, you know, I'd like to go to the Mars. I'd like to colonize Mars. I'm just a small idea. But how will I do that? How will I fund it? Oh, I'll have a Starlink, you know, people in rural America and all around the world, they don't get very good service. They get lousy service, maybe 1 megabit per second, maybe less. So yeah, with this constellation of satellites, he's got 1,000 of them up. By the way, I told you I was a microwave technician in yesteryear among my many jobs, and one of them I worked at a satellite earth station for AT&T. And the ComSat system, we paid $250 million to put one satellite up over the equator, 22,300 miles away. We had 3 of them actually up there. That's $750 million. Thank you very much. That includes the launch costs from Hughes and NASA. But man, they're expensive. And that was in $1980. Now, that was 40 years ago. So that would be triple that. So, $750 million a satellite. And Elon Musk has already launched 1,000 of them. It's like, woohoo.
Dean
well, he's
has
able
a question for you.
What's that?
Dean has a question for you.
Yes.
What do you have that will take 0 signal and make it usable? And I know he's talking to Michael at California Travel.
Yeah.
That's a Michael question.
The short answer to that is that when we went down to Quartzsite and we were your neighbors there, Dean, is that one of the things we did is before I got there is I took a look and said, where do I have some signal? I had some signal at Blythe when I was coming in from Los Angeles. Okay, well, I can always go back to Blythe if I need to. I got to downtown in Quartzsite, and I didn't have great service, but I had some. I thought, well, I could go here, and maybe the time of the day, if it's real busy, I can go, in the early morning or late at night. But when I got out to our facility, it was pretty good. So as you're getting to your locations, check. And because microwave energies will be attenuated or blocked when you're behind trees, behind buildings, behind even leaves sometimes at higher frequencies, it pays to say, well, look for a campground where you have the best chance to get reception, where you think maybe a cell site is. And if you have a directional antenna, you can say, okay, I'll go around. And if it happens to be one you can put up on a pole, maybe go over the tree lines, that would be your thing. But if you've got 0 signal, I'm sorry. You have to resort to prayer, I guess, Dean. It's like, I wish I had a better answer. Or maybe call the Silicon and say, hey, can you do better? Get more power, get a node closer. Anyway, so to the Starlight. So the Starlink has 1,000 satellites up there. They launch 60 at a time. Wow. They're only 500-pound satellites. They only last for 4 to 5 years. They're in a low Earth orbit, about, less than 500 miles height. And after about 4 or 5 years, they run out of fuel. Krypton, believe it or not, sounds like it's something. Is it kryptonite? They run out of krypton, and they will come down and they will burn up, and they will put another one in that position. And now they're going to get to 2,000 to 4,000. And ultimately, they want to have 40,000 of these satellites. So as you might guess, and I'm going to get a picture of what's going on here, if I can. Where did it go? I had a nice picture before. I think I've got this in the way. Okay, we'll get this out of the way. Come on, I want to minimize.
While you're looking for the picture, I'm going to go ahead and read to you from Mobang. It's worth it if your business needs connection is very, very remote location. Even a military drone depends on it. And you do not hear it from me. I know nothing, he says.
Well, as luck would have it, I have this nice setup. And when I put another screen here, now can I minimize this? So Grace, why don't you entertain them for a second? I'm going to see if I can get the screen I want where we can see the satellites.
Oh, you mean the one that you had behind you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. Hi, Kathleen. Welcome. Yeah, Michael was showing me a little bit more information regarding the Starlight, the SpaceX. And I had to admit, it was pretty fascinating. Overall, as far as the technology part of it, it's definitely over my head. But it was really cool the way that they're all released, and then they just go where they're supposed to. And then he was showing me how they all circle around, and it's very intriguing.
They are. It's amazing how that they could have this. And I'm going to be showing you a video that is in real time. It's satellitemap.space is where I'm heading for. There it is. Phew. Oh, look at that. As I try to put it up there, it is on the screen. It's messing with me. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Wacom tablet, and there I think we have it, and get myself as a little talking head. There we go. And so what I have here is a real-time display of some of the 1,000 satellites. Now, I'm at the middle of that lower middle part of the screen, and I'm at just north of San Francisco. And I put in my latitude and longitude. And so I said, well, if I wanted to connect to a satellite now, what would I connect to? And if you see there's a red line that connects to a red circle. And in the middle of that red circle is the satellite where I right now, at this very instant, have a clear line of path. The satellite dishes, as they call them, because it's kind of sexy. They call it dishy. It can see 50 degrees left and right. And it has to be at least 25 degrees above the horizon. It says, oh, I have a satellite there. And we could look at all the information on that satellite. But it says right now the azimuth is going around to 29 to 32 degrees. And it won't go more than 50. It's got to be within 50 degrees. If it doesn't have any signal on that one, it's got to find another satellite. And if there's not enough satellites out there yet, guess what? We've got to drop out for a while. So people right now, depending upon where their satellite is located and where they are located, it's not perfect service. Like right now, I have no signal. No signal at all. I have no red line to anywhere. So that's why they won't sell me service today, because, hey, I'm down there at like 37 degrees latitude, and the farther you are south, the less satellites are giving coverage, but I still have no signal. So that's why you may not be able to get service if you wanted to today. It's $500 for the dish, and then it's $100 for a month, and you can have 100 to 300 megabits per second download, 20 to 100 megabits or more upload, latency as low as 20 milliseconds and less in the future. So it's going to be pretty great. But like right now, this is what a long time. Sometimes it happens only a second or two, but look at this. I still haven't got a satellite that I can see with my antenna, and I don't have it hooked up yet. And this is not from SpaceX, from Starlink itself, but it's a pretty good estimation of how it works based upon the specifications that they have filed with the FCC. So the company that did this, I think, has something where you can see all these satellites moving around, but hey, where's mine? In a second or two, I think you're going to see those two on the left side of the screen, the yellow marks, where you're going to see a red line where it goes, gotcha. So that's kind of the basics of how it works. Now, but how does that figure in for us people who are interested in using our RVs? That's the rub of it, isn't it?
That is the question.
That is the question. So let me get a little bit of information on some of the criteria for that. Okay, what do you get for $100 a month? Anyway, well, number one is that it's on the roof of your RV. It may, although it's supposed to be able to take 70 to 80 mile an hour winds, it's, something sitting up a couple of feet, and it looks kind of like half of a, what would you say? It looks like an upside down umbrella. It's a narrow umbrella almost there. It's kind of concave a little bit. So here's some of the issues. Well, every 15 minutes, the Mother Earth ship will say, and it's on the ground actually, but it'll say, here's, Michael, the new satellites that you should be pointing to. And
Mother Earth ship is talking to you now?
Sort of, yeah, sort of. But right now you can see where there are two two satellites that it has good signals with. So yeah, we're good right now. So at any rate, it's going to be sending information for which satellite I should connect to next, and therefore I better be right where I am. So if I'm in my RV moving all around the United States or world, no, it's not designed for that today. In the future, when there's more satellites, then they'll have more permissivity where it can say, okay, we don't need to tell you which satellite. There's enough of them out there. you find one yourself. But that's not the way the software is programmed today. Okay, number 2, you have to stay within a couple miles of your home location today. You can't go 15 or 20 miles to a different county, to a different state. The cell that you are in, it's got a very narrow direction. Now, these satellites and your dishy, it has a very focused beam that it has, because you don't want a wide beam, it wouldn't have enough power. That's the same problem we had. We were talking about the Wilson electronic boost. So you have to stay very close. If you want to go to another location, well, it used to be you had to physically let them know, you had to give them a call, but now they have it where it's an app. You can say, hey, I want to go to another location. Well, that sounds pretty good. Hey, I want to go to Yosemite. Well, hopefully there's no trees blocking your view, which is really has to be wide open for that 100 degrees from like straight up over the zenith to down to 25 degrees above the horizon. But wait, there is more. Remember, it has to be a spot where they have available service. If it's like here in Sonoma County, they're going to say, no, Michael, you can't get service. If you're going to be moving to that location or Yosemite, they're going to say, sorry, we don't have service to that location in some cases. Well, maybe they do have that location, but maybe it's already allocated with everybody else, because it takes not only enough capacity for the satellite that's going over, but where do you think the signal goes when it gets to the satellite? It's got to go down to an Earth station. They call them a gateway station. So it needs to have capacity, and they don't have a lot of abundant capacity. Each satellite will handle, 10 gigabits. Well, if you want 100 megabits and there's only 10 gigabits, that gives about 100 people per satellite. And right now there's already 10,000 users. Yes, Grace.
You're going to be doing a video completely regarding Starlight and SpaceX coming up.
Yeah,
soon, correct?
But I'm just letting them know what the criteria is regarding the RVers and what the limitations are. So I'm giving you the why, not all the background what.
Okay.
So when you go to a new location, it has to be where that they have service there, and that it's not like the capacity is all used up. And then if all that works well, then great, you can go there. But when you go there, oops, you're not guaranteed you can go back to your previous location. Oh, I want to go back to Sonoma County now. I'm through at Yosemite. Oh, well, somebody else got that very valuable spot, so it's all filled up there now. I was like, what? That would suck, wouldn't it? So you see that it's not really ready for prime time. And then when it comes to having something that is a mobile terminal, they call it a terminal, but we like to call it a dishy, is what most people affectionately call it. There will be one that is for mobile, but the fact of the matter is, you remember I told you just can't be pointing your WEBoost to other cell companies' antennas and whacking them out. And same with the dishy. When you've got your terminal, your satellite, you can't just be putting it up on the roof yourself. It has to be where they know that the FCC requires, and this is more power, by the way. You can't be just like having it facing towards somebody's face or having it pointing towards another competing carrier. That would not be cool. So it has to be installed by professional people, and they'll have radiation warnings on it. And if it gets pointing the wrong way, it needs to be where it shuts off in 100 milliseconds. They get all these criteria. So I'm not going to get into too much, but anyway, as you take a look at this awesome picture here, and I'm going to just zoom out a little bit just to kind of give you a feel, because we can see right now I've got two locations I'm at that I can get connections with. And as I zoom out, let's get a big look. Now, what's this yellow snake to the right of me here? You see that? You know what that is, Grace?
Yeah, that's where they're dropping off new ones.
Yeah, exactly. There are a bunch of them. They haven't spread out yet. So they've had a launch recently, and it takes about a month or two before they let them disperse out. But I can see this is launch 22. They all say 22, and they've got a letter after it. So remember, they do 60 at a time. So there's a string of 60 that's kind of going over. And if you're really interested in, well, why is it that angle? Well, if we pull back even more, we can see there's always going to be a lot of satellites up by the North or by the South Pole. So that's why they're giving service first to the Canadians, because there's already a lot of satellites if there's 1,000 up there, because it kind of goes in an orbit like this, and around every 90 minutes it makes a complete loop. It only goes 17,500 miles an hour. I mean, come on.
I have a
so
question.
We can go ahead, Grace.
Okay, so it looks to me like the globe is wearing fishnet nylon. So is that why the Dishy is so sexy?
Right. So you see, there's one that's being out there. There's a couple more. 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize there were that many.
They're doing a big drop off.
There's about 5 of them that are still kind of going in progress. So their next launch is tomorrow. The last launch was a couple weeks ago. So they're doing 60 at a time, baby. You know, it's each of them costs about 500,000 times 60, man. Elon Musk is like starting to crank up the money machine. And he did, by the way, get award of almost $900 million to provide service to rural America. So finally, I will say is that, you know, this isn't meant for everybody in downtown San Francisco, Los Angeles, or whatever metro. They don't have the capacity for that. So it's meant for the people that might not otherwise be able to have service in the rural America. You know, you think about people that kids that need to be on Zoom because of COVID-19 or whatever, and their parents have to take them, you know, 20 or 30 miles into town to be able to do that. So that's one of the big ideas, what's going behind here.
Mobang says, good grief, our space is a technology junkyard. So he's basically sharing the same concerns that I had. And so Michael broke it down to me in a lot more technical verbiage, but basically he said, you know, they do only last about 5 years, but when they come down, they kind of just disintegrate in the air, and it has very minimal chance of actually falling to Earth. So that's
you said that beautifully, Grace.
Thank you.
You could get a job with SpaceX and Starlink for that, because they get cremated on their way down. So they're remember, they're only about 300 to 500 miles above the Earth, not like the ones I had, which were 22,300 miles away. Those are synchronous going around. But what happens is when they run out of fuel, they will eventually come down and burn up in the atmosphere. And, you know, they've told the FCC exactly all of the different chemicals that are used for the batteries, where they have steel, and, you know, where they have different irons and cadmium and all these different things for ICs. But they have even said is that the reason we want a lower orbit, the LEOs, low Earth orbit, the reason they want the LEO orbits is because they want to have enough fuel left over when it gets towards the 4th year to actually send it down into its final resting place. And then it gets reincarnated because they have another one come take its place. So ideally, it's not going to really create any space debris, although some amateur astronomers say, you know, I like to do time-lapse photography, and this kind of, I'm not really happy when I see these streaks come across the screen.
Yeah, I've seen
so
that.
They're trying to work with them to have where they have some kind of protection to where it won't do that. But I think Elon Musk he has said that he guarantees that there will be no discoveries that will be missed as a result. So in other words, let's face it, the big boys, like the Hubbles, and they're already out in space where they can get better signals. So anyway, I think that's about it on there. If anybody else had any more, fine. Otherwise, I'm going to continue on to the next item.
Well, yeah, just to take a minute to recap there a little bit. Just want to add that Kat says it reminds her of Charlie Grace's disco ball. So with that, I'll say Saturday night fever. Oh, look, and it just made my watch say active completed today. So I don't have to do anything else.
But just in closing, I will say is that, you know, most of the satellites you'll see are up towards the North Pole. The satellites are all launched at a 50-degree inclination rather than going around the equator. They go up at a 53-degree, and then they kind of come down and around every 90 minutes. And they are going to have some of them that are going to be in a 90-degree polar orbit. They're going to go around like this, and those will be for service to Alaska. Okay, Grace.
You'll appreciate this and Kat's sense of humor. So instead of singing "When You Wish Upon a Star," you're going to be singing, it will be a dishy. When you wish upon a dishy.
I love it.
That's
Well,
great.
Grace, tell us about Google Maps and Apple Maps. I'm sorry I took so long on that topic, but I hope you enjoyed it.
I'm sorry. We're all out of time tonight.
Like
All
that.
right. So going back to Earth, and with Earth, we're talking a little bit tonight regarding Google Maps versus Apple Maps and which navigation is the best. And I know we all definitely have our own preferences. I wanted to point out a couple of things we are familiar with. They both have their maps pre-installed, both Apple and Google. The difference is all of us with all of our smart devices can get Google, but we cannot get Apple only if we have an Apple device. And let's take a look here. Now, a big plus for Google is once you log into your Google Maps, it is automatically syncing all your data, including your journey history and your favorite locations. Both are user-friendly. However, Apple has a tendency to have a cleaner screen. All the location and information is there, but you have to actually search for it. And then once you find it, you can hit an X to make it disappear. So because it's less cluttered, that does give Apple a little bit of an edge in that area. Of course, they can both tell you the current conditions. They can tell you
that means like traffic, or what does current mean?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
They can tell you the current conditions on your route, including the traffic, the road closures, and so on. Both apps will suggest alternative routes if the one you are on is particularly congested. Now, if privacy is a factor, then as we know, Apple has gone all in over the last few years, and the privacy and live navigation seem incompatible. However, Apple has developed a process called fuzzing that ensures I hate that word, anonymity. So I'm going to go ahead and put that link in here if you want to find more out about the fuzzing. All the benefits always have us going back and forth on Apple and Google, and we're switching back from one to the other. There is some new news coming out regarding Google and some of the advances that they're making with their map system. One of those big features is called eco-friendly routes. It will now try to determine your fuel consumption for every route and then suggest the most effective one based on factors like the road incline, traffic congestion. And this is actually currently the default on the Google Maps. So you can switch it back under your settings, and you can go back to fastest route. Now, what's nice about this and the times we're living in with gas prices going up, if money is a concern and time isn't a factor, then that might be a benefit.
Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of us would use TubeBuddy, but you can sort of do some of this right in the app, can't you?
You got it. You know, and then now also Google Maps, this is kind of weird. It's getting an indoor navigation with live view, such as the airports, transit stations, and the malls. So basically, this allows you to use your camera's phone to scan your surroundings and get directions on which way to reach a specific point. So as an example, if you're at Macy's and you want to go to Hot Topics in the mall and you're not quite sure where it is. Well, if one area is more congested, it will actually lead you through the mall in a way that's less congested.
So Grace,
that kind of freaks me out just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, can I like go in like the mall and say, I'm not lost, but where do you think I am, Google?
Exactly. And then Mobang says, I bet Google AI can't figure out who has the lead foot. Oh, that's kind of scary. Now this part I like. This is a new update that Google is making, and it has the weather indicators. So you're actually allowed now to see in real time the weather situation. So let's say you're driving from, here where we are in Northern California to Tahoe. So, or actually, let's say you're driving past Tahoe into Elkhorn, Nevada. So it's going to show you where the snow is at its heaviest and give you alternative routes based on the weather. Now, here's the awesomest part, I think. It also has a new air quality indicator. So for those of us on the West Coast, which is now pretty much Oregon, Washington, California, if you're going from point A to point B and there's current fires and you have allergies or you have asthma and you want to avoid some of that bad air, Google can also help you navigate to avoid those areas. So that is our Google versus Apple. And with the
awesome job, Grace.
Thank you. And with the new things, I really think that Google has the lead there.
Yeah, if you're not worried about privacy, I mean, privacy, they're kind of like the opposite. But if privacy is not your concern, they spend a lot of money to be able to say, hey, we can harvest your data. And it's a win-win if you think it is. Now, I don't like sometimes you get these pop-ups, when you're going to certain websites. It's like, no, thanks. I do not have earwax. I know I'm 71, but please, must I see these? So, sometimes I get a little bit annoyed. But then again, as long as there is not like pretty girls in swimsuits where my wife is like, well, why are you getting those, Michael? So.
I'll have to watch your screens more and see what the pop-ups are.
Yeah, exactly. So at any rate, I wanted to say one thing is when I was down at Quartzsite and was coming back, had I thought, I used the Garmin Navigator and it has the road conditions, but it didn't have the weather conditions. And I thought, well, rather than going through to Tehachapi to Bakersfield and then up Interstate 5 to Northern California, I'm just going to go to Los Angeles and up over the tall grapevine that's over 4,000 feet. And when I got there, it was snowing. So, yeah, I should have probably, double checked with
Google,
one of the apps, Apple or Google, to get what the weather is. So thanks for that tip. So are we ready for the next topic?
We are.
Okay.
We're already tracked by our phones. So what's new? I think it's just a matter of releasing the information. Apple's not really selling it to anybody, or they're using those fuzzy searches, so it's not to us specific. So I don't know. I personally don't have much to hide.
Yeah, that's me too. So speaking of COVID vaccination and passports, I mean, really?
Speaking of hiding.
New York already. Grace, go ahead.
No, you said hiding. I said, speaking of hiding, see?
Yeah, I got everybody don your mask. So New York already has the app, and cruise ships and international airports are starting to ramp up to have, the drill is where they have the barcode, the 3D barcodes on there. And yes, you are approved and things. So it's, in a way, it's sort of like the people who like it say, well, it's like a driver's license and endorsement. If you can drive a big class that you've been endorsed by the driver's license to do, it's a privilege. And others say, well, I think it's an invasion of privacy if they know whether or not I have a COVID shot or not. And I listen to the news on both sides of this. And some people say, did you know that the vaccines are not approved, that they're experimental? Well, we all consider them approved, I hope. But they haven't gone through the FDA approval technically. So, some people get where they just do not want to get a shot for a wide number of reasons. So it looks like it will probably, at least in international travel, and whether it comes to all the states or what, whether or not you have the get out of jail card free. In other words, where if you have had your vaccination from Johnson & Johnson or the two from Moderna or Pfizer we have, but they're still saying is that wait 2 weeks until after you've had your completion of your shots, wear your mask, maintain your 6 feet distance from others that are not part of your family or your people where you live, and generally avoid crowds. And I think probably washing your hands is still not a bad idea. So anyway, that's the latest on that. Does anyone have any discussion on that? Or thoughts on it? How do you all feel about the idea of having an approval that gives you some privileges associated with your vaccinations if you've had them?
I think it's just a way of life going forward. I think it's just something like, when we go abroad, there's certain things that they want to make sure that we've been vaccinated for, or when we go to school. I just think it's part of the future. I do want to say hello to Weekend RV, and I believe that's Millie. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
I think that is Robert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hey, Robert.
It is Robert. What am I, from Oklahoma.
So anyway, next up is gasoline and diesel prices. As I said, they are kind of stable, but it sure don't seem like it out here on the West Coast. They're 10 to 20% higher than they were this time last year. But, we're kind of surprised that container ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal. I thought, oh, man, it's sort of like the stock market. You buy on the news and you sell when the market is normalizes for it, but it hasn't seemed to affect fuel or diesel prices. But I'm sure for manufactured goods, some people are going to find it gets there. So anyway, U.S. the gas price is averaging at $2.88. In California, our average $3.79. Thank you very much. Diesel in the U.S. is $3.14. And in California, $3.98. Ka-ching. So what do we pay for? Well, 50% of the cost of our oil goes for the crude oil, 15% for refining, marketing and distribution, another 15%. Taxes, 20% or more in most cases. But in California, we have these things called fees. So when you come out to the great golden state of California, in addition to that 20%, we have a couple more surprises. We have some excise tax. Well, the Fed excise tax in California, we have an excise tax, and then a storage tank cost. And any rate, we've got $1.19 a gallon just for our taxes and fees. What do you think about that, Grace?
Again, it's a part of life. It doesn't really do me any good to have a lot of energy in it, because how I feel about it doesn't change it.
Yeah. So the good news, though, is that, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the California Air Resources Board says big RVs coming into our state that have diesel, they're going to need to get an inspection and make sure they're not polluters. And it turns out they're only going to do it for diesel trucks and the like, buses and things. But RVs, they're saying, will be exempted. So thank you, Transportation Secretary, for that. And speaking of transportation secretaries,
who's that?
Grace's favorite, Pete Buttigieg, acknowledged that the $3 trillion infrastructure bill, that thing's coming up, and they're going to look for some tax money. Has come out in the news and said that no, it will not be by raising the fuel prices again at the pump. So wherever it is, it'll probably, if it's through businesses and the business prices go up, I don't know. But at any rate, we do need infrastructure improvements on a road. So I'm not going to be against this one, especially in some of the states where it's cost us about $1,000 to have our struts replaced. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
So if you all are ready, Grace is going to talk about Burning Man.
Burning Man, just a brief update there. And that is in regards to, will the show go on? And for those who love to travel and love art, there's a good likelihood that you too have contemplated having a trip out to Nevada's desert to partake with like-minded people at the annual Burning Man. Now, many things, as we all know, in 2020 were canceled. The theme this year is Black Rock City 2021, and the season is currently still up in the air. If they do go forward, and this ties into what we were talking about just a minute ago, there is a possibility that there will be social distancing. There might even be the COVID passport app. They are talking about having proof of vaccination, as well as rapid on-site testing, antibody verification, and negative test verification. The event organizations are preparing as much as they can up to this point However, if you are interested in going this year, it may actually be a smaller attendance than normal. So this, I don't know if you're too familiar with Burning Man, but they actually sell their tickets out, and trying to get there is a feat in itself. This year, it's expected that if you're signing up, you want to do so on their website. And I'm going to put that link in here as early as April. And on a day-by-day basis, it's very well possible that tickets will be going on sale in May. So if that's something that you've had interest in, we definitely encourage you to head on over there. And hopefully in the future, we'll have a couple of our own local Burning Man artists on our show to share with you some of their fantastic work. And that's that.
Wonderful. Well, Grace, you said social distancing 6 feet, but I don't think that's normally the way things go at Burning Man. It's more like it would be 6 inches, or how?
Well, it might be mask only.
Well, they already wear masks, so I don't quite get that one.
One never knows. So I think that's probably why they're going to have all the vaccines and the testing stations and everything else, so that when people get there, I think the social distancing is just going to be to limit maybe the crowd size.
Yeah. Okay, should we continue?
I'm done.
Okay, Outdoorsy Study, cities and states that are most dependent on RV campgrounds. I'm wondering what you think. If you've got some comments you'd like to put out there on where you think they might be most affected, let us know. Maybe some of them are going to pop up here. Now, these are based upon averages per 100,000 or 10,000 residents. So it's not just which states have the most, but per 10,000 residents in that area, which ones are most affected, which is, I think, is a good way to do it. Most affected, South Dakota, which we love that area when we drove through it, and Maine. And that was another one of our favorites, wasn't it, Grace?
Definitely.
So they get a lot of tourists per 10,000 residents there. That's the most affected. Was it ones that are moderately affected by campgrounds where they go up or down? Oregon, Montana, Nevada, Wyoming. Yeah, I would say that makes a lot of sense. They're still somewhat rural, but they get a fair amount of travelers. And for campgrounds that are less affected, California, Washington, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, Michigan, South Carolina, and Florida. So yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. But let's take a look within large metros. Orlando, Florida. If you want to say Kissimmee, Kissimmee, I think it's pronounced, isn't it?
Kissimmee. I thought Kissimmee was in Michigan.
What's that?
I thought Kissimmee was in Michigan.
No, that's at Orlando, honey. That's down by Disney World.
Oh, it's Hell, Michigan.
Yeah. So anyway, that's in large metros, big one. Riverside, San Bernardino. I would have thought maybe more in Los Angeles. Down in Anaheim where I used to live, they certainly do have some RV parks there. But I guess, I would go to our RVing on the weekends. I used to live in that area and go out in that area. So. McAllen, Edinburgh, Mission in Texas. Any of you been to any of these places? Let us know. I'm kind of curious. And Grace, you can pop some of the things up on places that they've been. Knoxville, Tennessee. Number 5, San Diego, Carlsbad. Number 6, here, another one in Florida. Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. Number 7, places we've gone through many times, but we wouldn't go there for a destination, Bakersfield. Number 8, what goes to Las Vegas? Well, it comes back at some point in time. Las Vegas, Henderson. Phoenix, Mesa, another Arizona, and Grand Rapids, Wyoming. And also I have, I don't know, I has Michigan there, but San Antonio, Texas, yes. Honey, here's your old neck of the woods, Sacramento, Roseville.
Sack of tomatoes.
Yeah. Do you view that as a very big place for camping?
Sacramento, yeah, and Folsom, there's quite a few. And then along the Sacramento River, if you like water sports.
Yeah, going in the foothills towards the Sierras, I guess so.
Definitely.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, yes, for sure. Buffalo, I don't even know how to say that. Cheektowaga, I've never been there, but Niagara Falls. Have you been to Cheektowaga, honey? You know that city?
No.
I don't. But Niagara Falls, Buffalo, we know that area up there by
Yes.
Grace used to live in the Finger Lakes region. And another one, Albany, Schenectady, Troy.
All in New York.
Yeah, so then it gets into the mid-sizes like Lancaster, Corpus Christi, and other places, and then the small metro cities that are affected. I just thought if you wanted to go take a look at that, it was, I thought very interesting is that this Outdoorsy.com, the studies that they have on their dependency on campgrounds and overnighters, which we normally look at it. Do they even have a spot? But it obviously, it affects these cities and states in a big way. So here again, I hope that some of this stimulus will go for a big part of our economy, which is travel.
Definitely. Now we are coming up to our last 3 or 4 minutes, and there is something fun that we want to share with you. So we want to be able to
try to pick it up, Grace. Thank you. So the Rocky Mountain Parks, I will just say, and kind of glossing it over, is that they are in high demand. All the RV parks, well, especially the national parks, are on high demand. And so they're going to, in the Rocky Mountain Park, have a $2 extra fee for getting the reservations booked. And you need to have reservations starting in the early part of summer. And you have to get your reservations a month ahead of time. There's a lot of T's and C's, but just be aware of that. And it's just not that campground either, I should say, that location. There are others also that are being effective. So let's see, Yosemite, Glacier, Acadia, Maine, probably Yellowstone will be in the future. So just be aware that these are going to be extra challenges. They're going to keep 25% of them for the last day. So if you can't get a reservation, you can still try getting there a day before and get in. If not, look for BLM land on the other side or something, I guess. But in some of them, like the one we're getting ready to do in Shenandoah, hey, just drive through in the daytime. What the heck? You can still enjoy it for the daytime. Right, honey?
Definitely.
So let's see. Do you want to go to your item, honey? I think we want to talk about some April. What happens the first part of April? You want to dig in?
Alrighty. Well, it's a little late for April Fools, but when we watch this, we're not quite sure. We're going to let you take a quick look here, and then we can go ahead and see what your opinion is. So let me go ahead and bring that up for us. So, is that an April Fool's joke, or did somebody actually do that? It definitely left me quite boggled.
Like our dog, you kind of twist the head. You're like, what? Why are they hooked up backwards?
Exactly. Is that a bumper hitch fail, or what would you think if you saw it driving down the road? So that just about concludes our show. Mike and Teresa from Meant to Be RVing did drop in here. Definitely want to thank all of you for being here. And if any of our viewers have an opportunity to put down in the comments your channel, go ahead and do that so people can find you and come and visit you as well. And honey, you have anything in conclusion?
Just anybody else, like Grace said, if you kind of want to sign in with your final things, if you have any questions for us or recommendations for next week's show, we always try to kind of have the news of the week as it pertains to some dimension of travel. And we don't get too much into the cruise ships or air travel, but we're kind of more for the RV. But we, some of those, if it affects us, then we will have that. But if you have things you're interested in, would like to have a share. So I appreciate you all being here and hanging out for the full hour with us. And we are looking forward. We're getting so close to finishing up our Shenandoah wonderful getaway. It's a wonderful national park. If you ever get to the Blue Ridge Mountains, and we found us at when we were going through a summertime, it was like, hey, even though it was August or September, it's hot. So we just started saying we go from the white mountains to the green mountains to the blue mountains. I don't know, pick another color, the rainbow mountains. But yeah, it's a wonderful getaway, and we can't wait to share that trip with you. And so as well as watching your channels also. So thanks for being here. And Grace, let's go ahead and call it a day if you're ready.
Happy trails, everybody. Good night.
Yeah, happy trails to you until we meet again.
Bye-bye.
Peace out. Bye for now.